Hey YouTube, it's Empirant, and today I wanted to quickly go over a couple of things that I missed in my last video looking at the Swordsman line and how they do against the Knight line. While the information presented in that video was accurate, I didn't take into account all the factors that I should have. Perhaps the biggest mistake I made was not factoring supplies in at all. Apparently my brain just totally forgot about that tech's existence. Additionally, I forgot about a couple of other civ bonuses and techs I needed to take a look at, being the Slavs with Drazina and their free supplies, Bulgarians two-handed swordsmen with their Bagains tech, the Malay forced levy two-handed swordsmen, Aztecs with garland wars, and Teutons with their bonus melee armor. Wow, I missed a lot! For starters, the supplies question is actually really easy to answer. Because supplies takes 15 food off the cost, this equals a total cost reduction of 18.75% for our swordsman line. This means that if we go by the same tests we did in the last video, we can now get 6 swordsmen out at a cost of 390 resources, instead of the 5 we got out before for 400 resources. Pitting this against the same 3-knight test worth 405 resources that we did in the last video, adding in the extra swordsman unit results in the swordsman line trading evenly, or usually just slightly ahead of the knight line when it comes to cost effectiveness using generic units. Note that these battles can be determined somewhat by RNG, with random bumping between units sometimes skewing the results in one direction or another. And just a reminder for all of these tests, this is assuming equal blacksmith upgrades, but the cavalry do have bloodlines. Of course, this ignores the research cost of supplies, which is 150 food and 100 gold. While a lot of people claim you need to create at least 10 swordsmen to make the supplies tech worth it, this only takes the food cost into account, and ignores the 100 gold. In reality, you're going to have to build at least 17 swordsman line units for this effect to matter. After creating these 17 swordsmen though, you can kind of think of the tech as giving you an extra free swordsman unit for every 5 of them that you create. This means you're going to want to be sure that committing to the swordsman line is the right call before researching the tech if you want to get the best value possible, because if you don't make at least 17 swordsmen, supplies has only lost you resources. This gives an easy transition to taking a look at the Slav swordsman line, which I forgot to take into account in the last video. For starters, Slavs get the supplies tech for free, which already means their infantry is going to start off trading evenly or slightly better against the knight line resource-wise. However, in the Imperial Age, they can research their unique tech, Drazina. Drazina causes all Slavic infantry units to cause trample damage, meaning when they are attacking any unit or building, any nearby units or buildings within 0.5 tiles will take 5 damage per attack from the infantry unit. Fun fact about Drazina, it is the most expensive unique tech in the game. If we run the same test that we have been doing so far, giving the Slavs 6 two-handed swordsmen and 6 champions with Drazina instead of 5 since they get free supplies, against 3 cavalier and 3 paladins respectively, the swordsmen win and definitely do better than 6 generic swordsmen. The 6 two-handed swordsmen win with 43% of their health left compared to 32% for generic two-handed swordsmen. The 6 champions win with 41% of their health left against the paladins compared to only 25% left for generic champions. The nice thing is that Drazina should snowball the more units you can get attacking at once, so every additional unit you can have above your opponent's numbers should make your infantry that much more devastating. Next, we need to take a look at the Bulgarians' two-handed swordsmen with their Bagains tech researched, which gives them plus 5 melee armor. The Bulgarians don't get champions, and the tech is only available in the Imperial Age, so we'll only be checking how their two-handed swordsmen do. If you haven't researched supplies, then their 5 two-handed swordsmen with Bagains managed to beat the resource-balanced 3 cavalier with about 39% of their health left. The 5 two-handed swordsmen still aren't quite able to beat the paladin though, with the paladins winning with 20% of their health remaining. However, if we give the Bulgarians supplies, letting them get an extra two-handed swordsman out onto the field, they win both battles easily, beating the cavalier with 72% of their health left, and beating the paladin with 38% of their health left. This means that Bulgarians' two-handed swordsmen with Bagains researched do better against paladin than generic champions do, which only win against paladins with equal resources with 30% of their health left. The next one, Malay forced levy, is an interesting one, as it doesn't reduce the total cost of the Malay two-handed swordsman, but simply moves 20 resources of the cost from gold to food. That means that if we just look at the total resource count, they do exactly the same as generic two-handed swordsmen. However, this is an Imperial Age tech and is likely to not be researched until pretty late in the game, when players can start to run out of gold. As such, I think it would be fair to only count half of the added 20 food count, saying that the forced levy two-handed swordsmen only cost an adjusted amount of 70 resources. That puts them in a pretty similar position as when supplies is researched for a generic civ. Even better though is the fact that Malay also gets supplies, which can make them an even more cost-effective choice for Malay players in the late game, and one of the best trash units in the game. Just to give a visual of how those numbers work out, we can give the Malay 7 two-handed swordsmen to represent their use of both forced levy and supplies. In these fights, the two-handed swordsmen are able to beat the cavalier with about 37% of their health left, and able to beat the paladin with about 28% of their health left. Remember though that this is just to help visualize how forced levy could help here. It is important to look at your own eco numbers and remaining gold before researching forced levy, since a low farm count or large amount of remaining gold could mean you're actually better off without it. Aztecs, the next civ that I missed, are an interesting case because they already make a strong argument for massing infantry with their 11% faster military production. But that isn't the reason I'm taking a look at them here. Their Imperial Age unique tech, Garland Wars, gives all of their infantry +4 attack. This is an incredibly strong bonus, and in our tests against Cavalier and Paladins with both two-handed swordsmen and champions, this allowed both swordsmen to win their respective fights without needing the 6 swordsmen that supplies would give them. The two-handed swordsmen won their fight against the 3 Cavalier with 28% of their health left, while the champions beat out the 3 Paladins with around 14% of their health left. If we give Aztecs the 6th swordsman for each test that researching supplies would effectively give us, then they win these fights with 60% of the two-handed swordsman's health remaining and 54% of the champion's health remaining. This puts Aztec swordsmen as some of the best performers against cavalry once they research Garland Wars. Finally, we need to have a look at the Teutons and their infantry line, which gets +1 melee armor in Castle Age and +2 in Imperial Age. While just 1 or 2 extra armor may seem like it wouldn't have much difference in a fight, the reality can be fairly surprising and really highlights how small advantages can snowball in Age of Empires. In Castle Age, their long swordsmen lose to knights when not including the extra swordsmen from supplies, with the knights retaining 25% of their health left. This is better than the generic swordsmen who lose the knights with 41% of their health left. Basically, what is going on here is that each long swordsman is requiring an extra hit for the knight line to go down. Now if we add in the 6 swordsmen that supplies would give us, you can see the swordsmen do win with an average of 30% of their health left. Moving on to their two-handed swordsmen and champs, Teutons are now getting +2 armor in Imperial Age, so let's see how that plays out. Without supplies, the two-handed swordsmen lose against the Cavalier, with the Cavalier keeping around 17% of their health. Meanwhile, the champions lose to the Paladins, with the Paladins having 18% of their health left over. This is actually only a slight improvement over generic civs, with Cavalier and Paladins winning this fight over generic swordsman units with 22% and 25% of their health remaining respectively. Adding in the 6th swordsman though for supplies has the two-handed swordsman winning this fight with 47% of their health remaining, and the champions winning with 46% of their health left. This compared to generic civs, which win this fight with 32% and 30% of their health respectively. One last thing to note real fast is how generic swordsman units do against light cav and hussar. In the last video, I mentioned how militia and men-at-arms do against scouts in the feudal age, but I didn't look at the scout line beyond that. Conveniently, both the scout line and the swordsman line both cost 80 resources on average, so comparing them is fairly straightforward. In a one-on-one fight, the swordsman line wins every fight, with the swordsman beating the light cav with 33% of his health remaining, while the two-handed swordsman and champion both beat the hussar with 42% and 54% of their health respectively. Since the resource costs for these units are technically the same, we actually don't need to look at a scaled up fight, as the results should be about the same as here, barring any extreme bumping or pathing issues between the units. So there it is guys, hopefully this video has covered everything I missed in the last one, although I'm sure I've somehow forgotten something else. Just as a refresher for anybody who doesn't remember, in the last video I covered Japanese, Burmese, Vikings, and Goths infantry, which is why I didn't cover those here. A lot of the beauty of AOE2 lies in its complexity, but unfortunately that complexity can make it really easy to overlook something when making videos like these. Or 10 somethings. I appreciate everyone who pointed out situations that I missed in the last video, or who simply had a suggestion or message in the comments. That's all from me today though. Thanks for watching this video everyone. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up down below, hit that subscribe button, and leave any questions you may have down in the comments below. Otherwise, thanks for watching, I hope to see you all on the stream sometime, and have a good one.